I'm Toby Hunter, and this is my 16.1 compare and contrast video. Okay, so the roles. The first role is the motivator. So this will be very different for different sports. So, for example, weightlifting. A coach that is motivating a weightlifter will be very loud, might be abusive, maybe very motivating. Whereas a coach of an under-10s girls football team would be much more relaxed, and give general motivation, just well done and keep it up and keep going. Be much nicer to the participants, whereas weightlifting might use swear words and abuse to try and pump up the weightlifter to lift heavier weights. Role model. This is very much more apparent in younger sports. So in a boys football team, being a good role model is very important. So, and not swearing, not messing around at training or matches, being organised, all of this is very important as for young kids playing football or basketball, whatever, because they're more likely to go on and copy what you do. Whereas if a men's football team, if you go and swear whilst coaching the men's football team, they're not really going to take that as, they're not really going to copy that. They already know what's right and what's wrong. Trainer. This will be different for team sports versus individual. So in a football team, a trainer might train the fitness of every player collectively, and it might be more broad, so not just general fitness or general stretches and this and that. It can't be very specific. So whereas a tennis player, a coach of a tennis player will be very specific to the individual. They'll look at their strengths and weaknesses and do interviews with their tennis player and see what they want to improve, and then they'll conduct very specific activities to improve what they want to. Friend is the next role. This for a men's Sunday league football team, this could be more apparent. Maybe the coach might meet up with them outside the football club. They might be really close mates with some of the players because it's not really serious. It's an amateur sort of football league, and the guys are there not mainly just to socialise rather than play football professionally. Whereas in a professional football team, the coach might not be as important as a friend. It's more of just get there and coach them what they need to know and coach them the football rather than be a friend and be there for the players. Skills, so organising. This is professional versus amateur. So a professional tennis coach will, when going to a competition with their player, will expect everything to be set up with them. They'll only need to tell the player the times of their matches. They might not even need to do that. All the balls will be provided. All of the court will already be set up. There'll be an umpire. There'll be ball boys. But then if you look at amateur football, so a coach of an amateur football team will have to bring his own balls. He'll have to bring his own cones for the warm up. He might need to set up the nets himself. It's much more demanding in terms of organising as a skill on amateur sports. Problem solving. This will be more apparent in kids, because it will be much harder to organise kids when, say, there's an injury in training. A kids football team. It'll be much harder much more. The skill needs to come out, or problem solving needs to come out more when organising kids to stand away from the injury or organise them to do something else whilst dealing with the injury. Whereas adults will be a lot easier. So an adult football team or an adult basketball team will be a lot. Problem solving is less of a dominant skill because the adults will more than likely know what to do when there's an injury, without the coach having to tell them what to do and problem solve there. Analysis. Analysis in a basketball game. A coach might look at the team's effort and analyse that. So the overall shots made and the overall points scored, or the overall attacks that the other team had, and the overall successful defences that the basketball team had. Whereas individual sports like tennis, they'll be looking obviously at the individual sport and be much more specific. So forehand ground strokes in, or backhand slices that were a winner, much more specific criteria. So a coach in a team sport will need to use this skill of analysis in a different way to a coach that analyses an individual sport. Finally, the responsibilities. So legal obligations. So kids basketball team, this is a lot more apparent in an adults football team, let's say, because the adults will be expected, well, not expected, but sort of expected to be able to deal with problems themselves. So the coach will be less likely to be required to stop them from being abused, and car sharing won't be as much of an issue. Whereas if you're coaching kids, then car sharing could be quite a big issue, and health and safety will be a very big issue, very big thing for kids. They need to be able to control health and safety, and also they'll be needing to make sure that they're not being abused in any way. It's quite a big responsibility there. Professional conduct, this is again kids versus adults. So professional conduct with kids, so swearing and not abiding by the rules, and maybe getting too close to the players with kids is much more frowned upon than when you're doing it with adults. Adults, it's less, still not good, but it's less frowned upon. So you need to be, a coach needs to be much more professional when dealing with kids, a kids football team or kids basketball team or cricket team or any sort of kids team, rather than a coach coaching an adult team. Equal opportunities. When coaching an amateur cricket team, this, or any sort of amateur sports, this is very a key responsibility. You need to be able to include everyone in some way, no matter what. Give everyone a chance, even if they might not be very good, or it doesn't matter what ethnicity they are. They need to be able to have that opportunity to do what they want to do. Whereas a professional, like the GB Olympics team, equal opportunities is less of a concern, because they'll be looking to get the best people possible into their the Olympic team, and it doesn't really matter what ethnicity they are, but the best players will get, the best Olympians will get into the Olympics team no matter what. So it's less of a trying to give people an equal opportunity to get in, because they might not be very good and they can't represent Great Britain in the Olympics, because their coaches will want to have the best team possible. Health and safety. So for a sport like gymnastics, this is very vital. There's a lot that can go wrong, especially if you're coaching children. You need to make sure that everything is set up right. You've got pads, people around the trampoline ready to catch them if something does go wrong. You need to make sure that they know what they're doing. You need to know that they can do it. Whereas tennis would be less apparent. You don't need to, there's not as much that can go wrong. You still need to be aware of health and safety, but it's less likely to go as wrong as gymnastics could.